year. We're on the 10th of Cheshvan. Now, friends, we call this Yud Cheshvan in Hebrew, marks the Hilula of a really great rabbi, a former chief rabbi of Egypt. His name was Rabbi Rafael Aharon ben Shimon, Zecher Tzadik Libracha. He was actually born in the English year 1847 to be precise, on the 4th of July, and passed away on the 24th of October in English year 1928. He was approximately 80 years of age at the time of passing away. He was a great rabbi. He was a posek halacha, rendered the different Jewish halachic renditions, let's just say. He would become the chief rabbi of Cahir, I believe, in Egypt, very prominent position. He was a president of the Bet Din, of the great rabbis over there also for 30 years. He wrote many great Torah books, and very much he wrote also a Chronicles history Torah book with regards to the customs of Egyptian Jewry in of itself. Let's explore some of the great highlights of the great rabbi's life in of itself. Okay, so he was born in an area in Morocco called Rabat. He was from Morocco naturally and came from great rabbinic heritage. His father's name was Rabbi David ben Shimon, a very great rabbi who we've spoken about on various different occasions over the past in this series. And I believe in the year 1854, at that point in time, he was very, very young, the family moved to the land of Israel. And over there, he would actually learn various different, his Torah, excellent education in of itself, and Poskim, and Talmud, and the great Poskim in Jerusalem. I believe he was, it's interesting, I think his father was actually working, Rabbi David ben Shimon was working for the Bet Din in Jerusalem. And while he was young, he would learn in the famous Yeshivat Magen David. Very, very interesting enough. This had like an excellent Torah education in of itself. And I think also the Magen David was close connection here to it. He actually learned many different languages, including French, Italian, Spanish, and Arabic also. So it was very, very well knowledge with regards from a language, linguistic point of view, and could naturally would be able to converse, use this for a benefit, and really was important at that stage in time, because we know that there was many different nationalities, especially living in Israel in of itself. I believe he was also learning a lot of Hebrew texts also. I think by the time it was he would get married to Rabbanit Esther, who actually came from the great rabbinic family from Morocco, the Rabbi of Rab ben Walid, a rabbi we've spoken about on various different occasions also before, which is very interesting. I believe in the year 1878, he would actually go out on a shlichut journey. He was about 30 years of age at that point in time. And I think he was actually working for the Doresh Tzion Beit Midrash in itself in Jerusalem, excellent place in itself. He would travel to France and to Germany over there, I think, to raise funds to fix this Beit Midrash, this synagogue study hall in of itself, and really was representing, let's just say, he received haskamot from all the great rabbis of Jerusalem. And he would actually, I think, including Rabbi Tzadok Kohen, he would actually meet once he comes to France, and also another rabbi in France called Rabbi Eliezer Isidore. Also, I think he was a chief rabbi of France, I think from the year 1867, if I'm not mistaken, the great rabbi in of itself. And then in the year 1879, he stopped this specific shlichut, I think after his father sadly passed away, and he would then become part of the Va'ad Ha'ida Hamaravit, let's say himself, the Sephardi, a committee in of itself of the congregation in Jerusalem, very prominent positions, and obviously brought along a lot of responsibility, especially this was during the time period of 1885, and between the years 1888 to 1890, so at that stage he was coming into his 40s, he was working, I think, in Morocco as a Shluchei D'Rabbanan. Very interesting. He would gather a lot of money within regards for the Va'ad Heidah Hamaravit in Jerusalem, for the committee, the Sephardi committee in Jerusalem, where they would actually found many different organizations, I think, including Dovev Siftei Yeshanim, if I'm not mistaken, and they would many other important things with regards to strengthening Yahadut, Judaism, in that specific place in of itself. Now, when he actually returned from Morocco, he was appointed the chief rabbi, or as we call it, the Chacham Bashi, of the congregation of the Jews in Cahir. Now, Cahir, very interesting. This is, I believe, the capital of Egypt in of itself. Very great place, had many great rabbanim in different places of time. This is a position he would take on for a staggering 30 years, between the years 1891 to 1921, which brought about huge responsibility and a huge prestige in of itself. There was a time period where there was challenges, especially with regards to modernity, and especially in bringing Jewish communities in Egypt close together. I think he received various different honors at that point in time from the Ottoman government and Egyptian local government. I think they actually awarded him with the different, let's just say in of itself, different prizes or badges in of itself, including, I'll say in a brevity, the Mesader Hamajida and also Mesader Usmani. These were prestigious, let's just say, local Egyptian awards in of itself, or medals in of itself. He used his position as chief rabbi also and his connections with the Egyptian government to try and combat anti-Semitism. And there's different stories. I think a specific story when there was a request he was given from a Dr. Nissim Malul to act against incitement. I think there was incitements taking place from various different Egyptian printing presses and newspaper presses against Jewish community in of itself. So he really did try and use all his connections in order to combat this. I recommend everyone to look into that. Now, in the year 1921, as we say in Hebrew, Tafresh Pei Aleph, he would actually travel, go and move to the land of Israel, back to the land of Israel with his family. And he would actually take a prominent position in Tel Aviv at that same time. So this was 27 years before the formation of the Medinat Yisrael in itself. He had a prominent position inside the synagogues over there in Tel Aviv at that point in time. And I think he ran a synagogue from his apartment. And various different chief rabbis of Tel Aviv used to consult him on various different matters with regards to judgments, like dinim and halacha in of itself, because he was a great posek and he was a dayan, which is interesting to point out. He passed away in Tel Aviv, I believe, on the 10th of Cheshvan in English year 1928, if I'm not mistaken. He was about 80 years of age at the time of passing. He was buried in Har HaZeitim in Jerusalem, and many, many great rabbis attended his funeral, including the famous chief rabbi, Rabbi Kook, Rabbi Aharon, a philosopher who we've spoken about before on this series. Rabbi, a philosopher, was a great rabbi, and I think the head of Yeshivat Tiferet Yerushalayim, if I'm not mistaken, and was the head of a Sephardic or president of a Sephardic orphanage. Also, Rabbi Yosef Mordechai Halevi, I think another great Sephardi Yerushalayim figure in of itself, and was part of the Midrash Bet Ezra, if I'm not mistaken, and one that also a prominent position. They all attended his funeral and, let's say, paid highest respects with regards to him. Sadly, I believe 2 months after his passing, his wife passed away and was buried next to him. It's actually interesting. His daughter, Rabbanit Simcha, married famous great rabbi, Rabbi Masud Chai ben Shimon, who would later on serve as a chief rabbi in Egypt, I think after him, which is very interesting. And it's actually interesting, his halachic approach, he used the modern, let's just say, adaptions in of itself that was coming back at that point in time, because it was a very turbulent time period, especially during the period where there was a First World War. And they actually say that even contemporary researchers, including a Professor Norman Stillman and a Professor Zvi Sohar, actually, interesting enough, I believe they concentrate on Middle Eastern studies. They would actually mention him with regards to part of the rabbinic leadership of Sephardic Judaism at the start of the 20th century. Now let's explore some of the great Torah works that he actually wrote, including the Har Pakod, which is very interesting. I think that was printed in Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this actual book in of itself would actually bring about the various different customs. Nahar Mitzrayim, which was based on 2 volumes in of itself, the volume Aleph and volume Bet. It was printed in Jerusalem in the year 1908, I believe, which brought about the various different customs of the Egyptian community from Mitzrayim, as we say in Hebrew. Torat Chalitza, which is another great book in itself. Then there was a Tov Mitzrayim, printed in Jerusalem once again in the year 1908, which was talking, I think, concentrating on the great rabbis and especially of the Rambam. Also the Matzor Dvash, which was a shut, it was a Sheilot and Shuvot book, questions and answers book, on the 4 books of the Shulchan Aruch, respectively, the Code of Jewish Law, the Lechem HaMa'arechet, and then there was a Bat Naot HaMarodot, which I think was printed in Tel Aviv, if I'm not mistaken. Then there was a Em B'Marad, and then there was a Em B'Me'al Yerushalayim, Azarta, which I think was printed in the year 1917, if I'm not mistaken. So it was really a great rabbi, and passed away in the English year 1928. Great rabbi that worked very much in Egypt, staggering 30-year period. He was a rabbi that worked in Tel Aviv, or had a prominent position, and he was from Rabat, and was on a great Talmidei Chachamim and great Ish Tzibor in of itself of the Moroccan Jewry and of Egypt within regards to that. So please don't forget to light candles in the great rabbi's memory, Harav Rafael Aharon ben Shimon Zecher Tzadik Livracha, on the 10th of Cheshvan. Please, everyone, we're a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. We've covered nearly 500 rabbis of great rabbis of yesteryear. Please subscribe to the channel over here. Please like the videos, share the videos, and wishing you all blessings from Israel. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and take care.